Welcome to But For Real, a variety show podcast co-hosted by two therapists who also happen to be loudmouth feminists. I'm Valerie, your resident elder millennial child-free cat lady.
And I'm Emerson, your resident chronically online Gen Z brat. And on the show, we'll serve up a new episode every other week that will take you on a wild ride through the cultural zeitgeist, mental health, and beyond.
You'll definitely laugh and TBH sometimes maybe cry a little because this is a silly and serious show.
Buckle up, my friends, and let's get into today's episode.
We're back.
We're back.
How are you?
I'm good. It's really dreary outside and it is
cold.
Yes, it's gotten very cold, so I'm just reaching that point of like wanting to be a full-on bear hibernating in my house.
Yeah. If you were a bear, what kind of bear would you be?
I feel like my bear knowledge is probably insufficient to answer this question. However, I think of like the really cuddly, snuggly black bear, maybe.
Perhaps.
I did see a hilarious reel recently. It was like somebody's kind of like night vision footage from their back porch. And it was a black cat squaring up against a black bear. Like a full-grown black bear.
Yep.
And the black bear's like, the black cat is like, what? Come at me. And scares,
this is my house, bitch.
Scares the bear away. I'm like, you would do that.
That's the most black cat thing I think I've ever heard. It makes perfect sense.
We'll have to find that and put it in the show notes.
We have to. Well, we're fresh off the holidays, post-turkey lurkey
the
day.
Thanksgiving holiday. Or for me, Thanksgiving. We had an all-vegan holiday at my
Beautiful.
My house.
Yeah. Did you guys just chill, rot?
Mostly, and my mom, so it was her birthday weekend too,
Oh,
so
cute.
she got the say in what
Yep.
we were going to view. Now, we did watch, and this is not even my tea and crumpets, but I'm going to throw it out there because everyone needs to watch it. It's called Everybody, documentary that came out last year. I don't have the director's name handy, but we will link it, and it was so freaking good. It was about intersex people. And
Really?
And it was, oh my gosh, like I'm like, every freaking person needs to see this. It was so good. I should have just used it as my tea and crumpets, but I didn't. Whatever.
We get a bonus.
But yeah, no, we also watched The Miracle of Morgan Creek and Bringing Up Baby, which are like 1944, 1938. Wild movies that like truly give meaning to the genre screwball comedy. Like, what in the fuck are we watching?
Weird.
Anyway, what's going on with you?
I'm enjoying the cold. I got like a nice dusting where I live of snow, so I was like, wait, I kind of like had a holiday warm beverage yesterday and like did errands. I was like, wait, which is really funny considering what we're talking about today. Right. But yeah, just have been enjoying but balancing the cold. I get a little dry, I get a little cranky.
Yeah.
And a little throaty, if you will. So when we talk for our jobs, vocal care as if we're on Broadway. But yeah, pretty good. I'm excited to be back into like a swing of something. I told you I over-rotted the other day. I was like, I maybe became a Thanksgiving turkey, just like did on the table. So I'm excited to be back and just kick it off.
Now it's time for our first segment, Tea and Crumpets, where we tell you what we can't stop talking about this week.
Mine this time is that Outlander is finally back. They have had so many, the writer's strike, like all various and sundry COVID things over the years that have led to long periods of what is known as Droughtlander. For fans, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know, it's not too late. You can start from season 1. Yes, there are books. I read a few of them. I'm sure they're great, but I just love the show. I think the cast is phenomenal, the writing, everything, the music. Bear McCreary does the soundtrack. Recommend it. And as I was Googling Droughtlander, because I was like, should I provide more context of this? Why this happened, there's apparently a podcast called The Droughtlander Diaries that I'm going to have to check out. Got to support our fellow podcasters.
Interesting. The Droughtlander. I think my mom likes Outlander. I wonder if she has heard the good news that it's back.
What's your tea?
My tea, and unfortunately for everyone around me, is I watched Wicked Part 1. So I have turned into a one-woman show. Know that. And so here's the thing, right? I have enough cultural understanding of Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel. Have I ever watched Wicked on or off Broadway? No. But I understand the cultural implication here. And so I kind of went into Wicked like somewhat I would deem a blank slate. I totally had my socks rocked off. I was like, wow, I really hope Cynthia Erivo, you're not listening. But if you ever were, I really hope you get your EGOT, girl. Like, I really hope that Oscar comes through. Listening to her, like, her adaptation of Elphaba, I think is going to be really culturally important.
Yeah.
No doubt, white girl, you're talking about the culture importance. Like, it's important. I think this, like, musical always has been. But wow, just so phenomenal. I was very surprised because sometimes I'm like maybe judgy. I always count myself as like theater kid adjacent. Like I was a choir kid.
Yep. Same.
You know, so I was kind of like, but I was in a production of The Wiz when I was like 10, you know, whatever. So like a school production, not anything crazy. But I was really impressed. Wow. Like, even if you're not a musical person, I think you could, like, get something from the story.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for part 2.
What is that? There's a male actor in the movie who everyone is losing their goddamn mind over.
Jonathan Bailey?
Yes, Jonathan Bailey.
From Bridgerton.
Saying that, like, he is just, like, sex appeal to every,
sure.
if you have a pulse, you're going to be drawn to this person.
And so I'm like, I agree.
I have to watch it.
No, he plays Fiyero, so he kind of is like shacked up with Glinda, the Good Witch. But it's just very interesting.
Tension.
For sure. And I just enjoyed already looking like at his character and some of the other characters and how that plays out in The Wizard of Oz. So like they're doing lots of like, obviously this is the prequel, right? So the foreshadowing. But Jonathan Bailey, everyone. He's kind of flavor of the month. He's kind of been the flavor, I think. Like Anthony Bridgerton, that was his like
I only watched season 1 of Bridgerton. One of these days I'll have to get back to
it. Everyone historically loves his season, I think.
Okay.
So, Jonathan Bailey. Hey.
Okay, I'm going to need to go see it. And then I can almost guarantee that I will be as annoying as you are. Right?
Annoying.
Charming?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that reminds me. We did not sidebar conversation behind the scenes.
Yeah, sorry.
We did not plan this for this episode, but I can't remember what it even was that we were looking at, some reel or something. And Chris was like, is it charming or alarming? And he goes, new podcast segment, credit me. So we might have to add a segment called charming or alarming.
Wait, I kind of love that.
Right?
The wheels are turning for what's here. I'm excited.
And we might be charming but also
alarming. And that actually makes perfect sense for who we are, I think.
Welcome to The Lore, where we share anonymous listener-submitted stories about literally anything. The more cringe or jaw-dropping, the better. To submit your story for a future episode, find deets on the gram at ButForRealPod or at GaiaCenter.co/podcast.
Today I'm going to throw in some of my lore. Now, this may be like, because I was there and it was me, it was funny. So, like, I'll just see, but, I'll let you know. I love a story anyway. So, this is the very basic story of how I acquired a SAD lamp, so a seasonal affective disorder lamp, if you don't know what a SAD lamp is, from Facebook Marketplace with my best friend, Val. So, we were both talking, and we were both like, we need to get ahead of the SAD. So we, like, bedazzled pill cases for our vitamins, because we're just girls. And we were like, let's get SAD lamps and maybe bedazzle them. So I was like, amazing.
Obviously,
what else do girls do? You know what I mean? So Valerie acquires a SAD lamp for me from someone close to her off of Facebook Marketplace. Save some money.
Sure.
You know, whatever. They end up in Goodwills a lot. So I thought I was like kind of doing a consumer justice. I was like, yes.
Look at you secondhand shopping.
Secondhand and save some money. Okay. So she gets the box. We open it. The charger is missing. So we're like, oh. Well, now me and Bestie, we're recovering people pleasers. So we're both immediately like, well, now what do we do? We're like,
we surely cannot message
the person that we have acquired product and service for and ask for the service that we are owed. So we sent the message, and she was super apologetic about it, this sweet lady. So we were like, cool. We go pick it up the next... We're like, hey, girl...
She had the charger.
She had it. Okay. She was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll leave it on the porch. Okay. Also, feel free to check out my moving sale. And we were like, hey, so we're not going to do that. But I do want the charger. So I pull up to her house the next day. And the charger... There's just like a charging cube. Like, there was no cube, no cord. So I was like... And I turn and look at Val. And she's in her car waiting for me. And she's like, just come on. Like she doesn't want the conflict or like, and I kind of don't either. But there was something within me where I was like, bitch, ask for the damn charger. Yes. You paid for this. Now, if it was a $5 item, fine. But I paid $20.
Yeah,
so I was like,
half a charger.
Well, right. So I knock on the door politely. And, you know, I'm kind of there and waiting. Well, I kind of got ahead of myself. As I'm pulling up to the driveway, there's someone there. Okay. So I assumed it was this lady.
Yeah.
So because I'm walking, on someone's property, I'm stating who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hello.
This is Tennessee, y'all. We got to be careful.
Well, Mama, people have guns around here. So I was like, hi, I'm here for the Sad Lamb Charger. This lady looks up and goes, I don't fucking live here.
Why are you on the property?
I was pinned against the wall. I was like, oh, okay. So then I'm knocking on the door for the person that does live there. I'm like, hello. She's not coming out of the front door, so I'm just standing there, and Val is just dying in the car. She's like, let's just go. She's told me she was on Amazon. She was like, bitch, I was just going to buy you the charger. Like, she was like, we have to go. So that lady gagged me. She comes out. I'm like, hey, girl. And I'm trying to start to talk to the lady that lives in the house. This other lady just, like, cuts me off.
Whoa.
And is asking her about the, like, shit that she's selling, I guess. So the lady's just like, oh, I'm so sorry. Goes in the house. And she's just, like, there. And so I'm standing waiting. And this other lady that's, like, shopping around, I guess, who gagged me.
Kind of aggressive. Yeah.
Aggressive and gagged me. I turn around. She's digging through their trash and, like, their recycling bin. And she, like, pulls out these CDs and turns around and goes, do you listen to Christian music? And I was like, no.
Oh, but you got to be careful answering this woman's question now.
Right. And I just was like, no. And she's like, well, it's almost Christmas. You don't want it? And I was like, no, I'm not here for I'm not here for the moving sale. Like, at that point, I kind of lost my temper because, like, well, who are you? And don't gag me like this. Like, it just was unnecessary. So she kind of just was, like, on my ass. I was like, okay. And she's like, I can take whatever, right? Because obviously they threw this away. And I was like, I'm not here to tell you if it's okay or not to go through someone's trash in a residential area.
I don't fucking live here.
I don't fucking live here, girl. I'm looking at her, and I'm just like, what's happening? You know, what is this? Val's just dying in the car. She's like, let's just go. But there was something in me. I was determined.
You were so close to getting the cord.
Yeah. And so this lady comes out. She's holding a random fucking cord, girl. I mean, like, it doesn't look like it's the cord that fits the sad lamp. It does fit. Thank God. But, like, just what a palaver. I was like, oh my God. This is like, we got back to her house and we're sitting on her couch and we both just went, what? Like,
you're like, that was not worth saving $15.
I was like, maybe next time Jeffrey Bezos is just going to get the extra 20 to, like, save me some of this interesting inconvenience, if you will. But we laugh about it. It added to our friendship lore. So it was worth it, I think.
Stories
well, I told her,
we've
been friends for 7 years. So, like, we need stuff to keep our lore rolling. You know what I mean? Like, we have lots of lore. So that was just a little, again, maybe you guys don't think that's funny, but I was gagged that she clocked me like that. I don't fucking live here. I said, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I'm just a girl. Yeah. You know, what do you want from me?
I love it.
And now it's time for the DSM. In our DSM, all varieties of dysfunction, spiraling, and meltdowns are welcome. In this segment, we break down complicated concepts and common misconceptions about mental health, well-being, and tell you what we really think.
Let's dive into our topic for this week. So, we are talking about influencer culture and hyperconsumerism. And this is a topic that has been on my mind, I mean, on and off for years at this point. Sure. But I've been digging into it more, and then I came across this video that the YouTube name is State of Kate, Kait. We'll link the video, that she just posted recently called The Most Out of Touch 2024 Influencer Trends. So that combined with my own sort of post-Black Friday buyer's remorse. Yeah, like, girl, did you really? I mean, and of course, all these things are still en route to my house. And so I'm like, it's not too late to return some of them. I have to remind myself that because that's another piece, which we'll get into. But anyway, so what do we mean by influencer culture? A lot of you listening will know what we mean, but to sort of define our terms here, the content creators, quote unquote influencers. It's funny because one of my good friends from growing up, her sister, well, to-be sister-in-law, who recently had her niece. So she's obsessed with the niece, and she's like complicated feelings about, you know, this person who is an influencer. And the person is like, no, I'm a content creator, not an influencer.
I'm really glad you brought this up.
Yeah. So those terms are a bit interchangeable, but as you can hear, there is there can be some connotations to certain things. Yes. Some people probably don't mind being called influencers, but you know, to their credit, they are having to create content in order to be influencing, or, you know,
for sure,
making money with their platform, essentially, is what they're doing, right? Yes. People who have developed an audience or a quote unquote platform, usually on one of the kind of common social media platforms, that they can then use to get brand deals or other like sponsored posts.
Sure.
A lot of these people get a lot of free shit. Or sometimes they only get free stuff. Sometimes they get compensated and paid for their post, depending on the size of their audience, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of what we mean by influencer culture. What do you want to add here?
Yeah, I really love that you brought up like being an influencer versus being a content creator.
Yeah.
I think how we're looking at the overall landscape of influencer and influencing is changing. We were talking yesterday about enjoying video essays. There's one I'll send to you. I think her name is Jordan Teresa. She's British. And I remember last night I was just kind of going through, and she posted a video 2 years ago that I remember watching 2 years ago, and I revisited it. And she essentially was talking about what she thinks is going to change in the influencer content creator landscape. Nice. And it was really interesting listening to it now versus when I first did 2 years ago. And that part was something that stuck with me, is that people, I don't know, across the kind of like social media realms where you have people perhaps that have pretty big platforms in their life, like out and about, and talk about themselves as a content creator when really they're an influencer. And what that means. So, you know, we hear like micro influencers and like big influencers, you know, do influencers, you know, that branding of it, does it come with a ton of followers? You know, I'm always interested in where the line is, right, and what it means to like hold an influencer title and then hold content creation. And that they're interchangeable in many ways, but I'm like, surely there's like somewhere where it delineates, where it's different.
Right. And it's really interesting how, like, of course, kids these days, a lot of them, like, that's their aspiration, because they see so much of that content, like the actual videos and things being created, especially I would say since Instagram really took off, is like lifestyle content, right? So like, oh, here's the things that I'm using, and here's what I'm doing in my day-to-day. And man, they because they need to make their lives seem really compelling and like wonderful, they're selling a lifestyle and selling all of these products and things that help them sort of live this life. And so people, you know, young people who are very impressionable are seeing not only these products that they now want, but they also are going, I want to do that for a living.
Oh, sure.
And it's hard because, like, well, some of them can, but the vast majority of influencers are not making a livable income. It's kind of like your good old fashioned pyramid scheme, right? Like the ones at the top are making a shitload.
Oh my God.
And then there's maybe like a layer 2 where like you can get by. But then the vast majority of people who are content creators, who are spending hours of their life every week creating content, some of them many hours, maybe are only aspiring to make a livable wage and may or may not ever get there because there's only so much to go around.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that I threw down. You know, I threw down about like OG YouTuber beauty influencers. Like for when I think of influencers and how
Jenna Marbles.
Oh my God. Yeah. Jenna, like in the like comedic kind of realm, like YouTube as a sphere and what that did for like the influencer culture, to me that's where it like
started.
Was bred.
Yeah, all the vlogs, all of the like
God, everything,
makeup videos, all of it.
And I was very entrenched in beauty guru side of YouTube, and it very much drove a lot of my like early preteen, teenager, early collegiate years. I loved makeup, but I would look, you know, in the like consumptive part, I was looking towards the influence of my favorite creators on what they liked and what was good and what was from the drugstore and what was from Sephora and things like that. And so it's just really interesting to me to look at the current landscape of YouTube and its historically long form content, building a comment section, building a fan base, and what that now looks like with TikTok, where any video at any time can go viral from short form content, where there's a lot of brands, you know, it's still similar to YouTube where people are pushing product, but it happens so much more faster. And the new age kind of TikToker, I guess most of the time TikTok, sometimes Instagram influencer, is that you didn't have to build a 1 million base subscriber thing off of YouTube to start making money, and big money, and quickly. So it's just so interesting to see how it's shifted and how a lot of people deem long form content as like dead, like that YouTube is eventually just gonna die off, and everything is about reels and quick accessible videos that push products, that get a lot of clicks, that make people a ton of money. Affiliate links are huge. You know, nothing is followed nowadays with, oh, here's this product, but here's this product through this specific affiliate link, and I'm going to make a ton of money if you click that and buy it off of my Amazon store, anything like that.
The larger their audience is, the more clicks they get. Yeah, exactly. And I think the intermittent reward is such a mindfuck of it for people creating stuff, because it's like, if they're working toward building that and trying to be an influencer, paid content creator, and they maybe get one video that like goes off and gets 100,000 views or whatever, but then, you know, they make 20 more that don't, and it's like, you keep going because you got that one, and it's like, you're just going to keep pushing. And, you know, I would never discourage anyone from doing like what you really want to do. Sure. If that's what you're passionate about, like, fine, be perseverant and stick with it. But it's just, there's a lot of like icky parts to it, which we'll get to in a minute more around the consumerism piece. And it is something that can, I mean, it's work, but it's also not at the same time. Like, you know, you have to develop, if you want your content to be good, you've got to develop editing skills. Oh my God, You've got to develop copywriting. Like, there's a lot of skills that are valuable that go into this. Yeah. But it's, the woman, what's her name, who
Michaela Nogueira.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And she's just one example of it. Oh, so sure. Tell the people what that was.
Yeah, we have like my brain part of this was like, let's, especially from State of Kate's video, where, you know, it was the trends and people being out of touch. So Michaela Nogueira is, you know, very historically rose to fame from TikTok, beauty guru influencer. Like, she's kind of like the new age influencer. And she just had a really poor take of, and if you know, you know.
It was like a year or two ago or something like that.
Yeah, and was just like, try being an influencer for a day. I had to wake up at 6 a.m. and then I had a meeting, and then I had to film this video, and then I had to do this. So guys, honestly, just try being an influencer for a day.
And it's 5 o'clock and I just stopped working.
That's what killed me. She was like, it's 5 o'clock and I just sat down. And I'm like, girl, you're describing an easier version of a 9 to 5. Like, hey, people get up at 6 and come home at 5.
Right.
What the hell?
Yeah.
And she's not. I'm not just only dogging on her. This is a historically poor take, I think, from people that make it in that 1%. Pretty big.
Hard.
It's so hard. I have emails and like, blah, and I just think it's dumb.
And Kate's perspective was like, okay, yeah, maybe some of it is like you're putting in the time.
Sure.
But you have so much control over your workload, over how much you're doing and when, that people in traditional jobs do not have.
No, there's an inherent privilege that comes with making it pretty big in the social media sphere. And I don't know, there maybe comes a certain point where people, I hear this a lot of like, oh, I stopped following this one creator that I used to really love because they've now no longer become relatable to me.
Yeah.
And I think for someone like Michaela, who went to college, I think she worked at Sephora or MAC, and like that's how her makeup journey started, you know, posting content, posting reviews. There are beauty gurus that I used to love that I also stopped watching because they just amassed such a fortune. And I was like, this lifestyle is so unobtainable to a layperson like me. What business do I have watching this content when it doesn't reflect anything in my immediate or personal sphere? Yeah. So I think, you know, Michaela's out-of-pocket touch. And I think the one that I see the most in this kind of micro-influencer short-form content on TikTok is the historically also bad take of a day in the life. Mm-hmm. Like those lifestyle videos in long-form content I used to love. I used to find it really interesting. And so in a 15-second version of that, when come on my long day with me, and the day is going to Pilates, getting a coffee,
going to start,
getting your nails done. I'm like, baby, this isn't a job.
Yeah.
These are just errands. Or like, and I have to do this pile of laundry. Well, so does everyone else when they come home from their 9 to 5 or just their job in general.
Or even the romanticized version of that. And like, I've posted things like this before because I was, at the time that I was trying to focus more on content creation, I was just like, well, what's working for other people? Like, what do people like? And so, it's like you do your little, like, this is what I did this morning and this is what I have this afternoon. And there's nothing like evil about that. No. It's just, again, you're showing sort of a romanticized version of your real life. And that's not a hot take. Like, we all know that social media is the highlight reel.
Sure.
But it nonetheless, like, we can continue to perpetuate that.
Yes.
And even if consciously we know that, we still are seeing these things and comparing ourselves. I mean, I know that I'll see people posting things like that, like even micro-influencer types who, like, I sort of know or have somewhat of a, tangential relationship with, and I see what their day looks like, and I'm like, look at them. Like, why doesn't my day look like that?
Yes.
It's very subconscious, but it happens. And that's a part of, like, what that sort of aspirational content can fuel in people.
Sure. And I love that kind of point of there's something to be said about some of the lifestyle, for me, the lifestyle parts of it that maybe is good. I think it was last episode when we were talking about nostalgia, or wherever it was, when we were talking about main character energy.
Yeah.
Like, it's perfectly okay.
Sure.
Like, I had a main character day yesterday. I went and got a holiday bath. I was running errands. I was Christmas shopping for my family. Like, I didn't have a client day. I had other things and I had other appointments. So it kind of felt like one of those, like, day in my life little days. And it was a nice and fine day. But I didn't record myself doing every single step of it. I just went and did it. And you know what I mean? And so and I'm not trying to be bitchy, but I'm just like, there's just some parts of the day that we just go do.
Well, and for the people doing that, it's like, and again, I have respect for it. It's like, that's what someone's wanting to do to create income. They have a unique voice. Like, I'm not saying that it's, not admirable in any way. But it does create this level of removal from your own life when, like you said, you are documenting your experiences rather than living them. And again, that's something we've all known is sort of an occupational hazard for this. But anyone using social media, anyone wanting to capture, like, oh my God, this amazing experience, and it's not a black and white thing, right? It doesn't mean like, oh, if you take pictures or take any videos, you're not really present.
Yes.
But I will speak from my own experience that when I was in more of that phase of like, oh, I've got to create content, there was this veil between me and my experience of like everything had to be filtered through, oh my God, what am I capturing? What should I be capturing?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't, that's not a way that I want to live.
That's really interesting. Well, and I think, in the kind of like influencer versus content creation was something that I weighed a lot, like when we talked about doing this podcast and what it means when you're putting your voice out there, talking about specific things. In my mind, I think, okay, how this is considered content creation, right? We're creating content, But at this point, I don't know about the influence component because most of it, we're sitting on a couch at our place of work, but we're sitting in like peership and friendship and we're just talking.
I'm really going to need you to step up your level of influencing if this is going to work.
Get on Instagram.
I need to see some more content. Okay, so a big part of what drew us to want to have this conversation is the element of consumerism and hyperconsumerism. Because here's the deal. How is it that these people can make this a job?
Right.
And it is because brands are paying them to get their products and or services in front of people, right?
Millions of people.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And they will pay big, big money for that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like it's in the State of Kate videos, she uses Tarte as an example, and Tarte has caught a lot of flack over the years, and there's even, she gives a brief clip of somebody else's video that I can't remember his name, but just go watch it so that you can see, and I'm going to have to follow him as well. But he was giving the breakdown of the Tarte trip and like the, as a marketing case study of like they spent, what was it, over $3 million sending these influencers on this trip to Dubai or somewhere. Yep. It was like $65,000 a head. But that ended up translating to like insane brand visibility, like like $10 million of earned media coverage, like PR, and like bajillions of dollars toward that featured product and actual sales. So it's like, if it works, brands are going to do it. Yeah, that's a lot of money to send people on a trip. But if you're going to spend that much on a 30-second ad spot and it's not going to have that level of impact, brands are going to keep doing this. And people are being influenced. Like those purchases came because people following those creators were influenced by that content. So if we look at that as like, that's just how the machine works, is brands are paying these creators because it makes sense for them. They're getting good results from it. But who is the customer? We are, right? And of course that's true with traditional marketing and advertising too, but it's a little more insidious because there's these like parasocial relationships of, oh, I really like this person and I follow them and I'm going to buy what she buys. Again, speaking from my own experience, I've fallen into that trap many, many times.
Oh, same. Yeah, same. And I think, that's why I was excited for us to have this conversation, because I am a consumer. Yeah. Like, I don't shy away from the fact that, like, I enjoy a stroll around a store. I enjoy, looking at what comes across my For You page. And I do follow people that I am parasocially connected to, and I'm looking to see what they deem as, viral or cult products or things that make their life better, or, the things that I save my money up for to try and purchase and add into the consumer market. I think it's not lost on me for us to like bring gender into this conversation. Like the influencer kind of archetype is often met with a lot of heat, like being vapid and vain, and and I find myself in the moments of like eye rolling over some of this content, and then I also have the other part of it where I'm like, well, I really like this girly, and like that lipstick does look great on her. I'm sure like in our similar skin tone it would look good on me too. It's that really delicate back and forth of women drive consumerism. Like we drive the market because we are the purchaser. Like we purchase things. We make things cool. Sorry, we make shit really cool. The Beatles would not have been the Beatles without women. I believe that. And the same goes for consumer marketing. I even just threw down like the importance of these brands that are really cultivating, specific interactions between their products and influencers, and how it drives a boom. Stanley Cups, you're kidding. They just started popping up, and now people are beating down the doors of a Target to go get that limited edition Stanley. It's culty. There is cultishness around this product and these marketing ploys, and we are falling into the trap.
And even though that has always existed since marketing and retailers have existed to a degree, like Tickle Me Elmo, Furby, like these Cabbage Patch, but those were sort of like holiday gift time. This is year round now, and
there's always something to go get.
Always something. And it really is to another degree, right? Like with the Stanley Cup is a perfect example. Like the level of virality and almost like inclusion.
Yes.
Like there was, I think I may have referenced this somewhere on, I don't know if it was on this podcast, but there was a group that I guess I'm still in it, though thankfully I don't check it very much. But it's this woman, I guess she's an influencer, but she started a Facebook group that has like, I think dozens or hundreds of thousands of people in it. And it's like all kind of women around a certain demographic, SES, who are like buying nice things for themselves. And and so people will be like, hey girls, like what are we wearing this summer? What is our dress of the summer? And there's this language of the we of it, of I want to feel included. And so I want to make sure that I have the leggings that we are wearing right now. Yeah.
The we. Well, and I even just, the interpretation of that, again, in the double-edged way. We, as in collective, as in girlhood, as in womanhood experience.
Right. That's not bad.
That's not bad. And then also in ways, us versus them mentality.
Yeah.
Well, I have Lululemon and you're wearing Old Navy.
Yep.
So what does that say about you? And what does that say about me?
Yeah.
And where it can get bitchy, for a lack of a better word. So I just find it so interesting, the virality and just that part. It kind of just tickles me when I get on TikTok in particular and someone is, you know, selling me a product of some kind, which is every other video. Hey. And, you know, it's selling out fast. The typical marketing language, right? Or like, guys, run to Target. Bitch, I'm not running to Target for a lip oil.
Sold out 7 times.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, run to this, run to that. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, But then when I'm in Target and I see it, I'm like,
there it is.
There it is.
There it is. There's
It's
the
cute.
thing everyone wants.
Yeah. And then when it's 1 or 2 left and everything else on the display is gone, I'm like, oh, we're looking at commodity, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, so who blew this up? Who blew this product up? Or even in the comments, y'all better not blow this up because this is my favorite product and I've been using it for years. Just that us versus them, that exclusion and exclusion is just so interesting to me over products.
Right. And related to that, this idea of, and there's a whole book on this that I've been meaning to read. Hopefully I'll get it on my 2025 list that we can link in the show notes. But it's called, I think it's called Wanting. But it's about the science of mimetic desire. Basically that, you know, we often, our desires come from seeing what the people around us are desiring, right? And then that's like demand generation and marketing is, if there's not a demand for something right now, well, guess what? We can create a product and then generate the demand. We can tell people why they need this, why their life is going to be better with it. And then that mimetic desire can get generated through like viral content and sharing, right? So just like there's so many things in my life where I'm going, well, if I hadn't seen that somebody else wanted that, would I have wanted it?
Yep.
And that's like, ooh, that's hard to admit to yourself. Right?
And I think that's such an interesting concept of how we tie into, obviously, like how the algorithm pushes things. You know, you look something up because you heard someone talking about it, and then all of a sudden it's on every other page that you're on. And again, not lost on me, the boom of product pushing, specifically on TikTok, that's happening through lives. I had no idea just how profitable lives were, and anyone can go live. You have to be over the age of 18. I think if you're going live, and selling products, there's like specifics in there. Yeah. But there's gifting that happens. Like I never knew any of this until I looked it up. I was like, okay, and the lives, there's so much going on. There's bubbles popping up, and there's people blowing up in the chat, and they're selling you this stuff, and come back at the same time tomorrow for this specific deal that's happening within 30 minutes. And people are going nuts for it. Like, this is the new form QVC, and the kids that are on TikTok are turning the phones around to mom and dad, or just parents, and saying, everyone else has this. I want it.
Yeah. You know, I honestly feel like so grateful right now that for whatever reason, TikTok has not hooked me. I mean, I'm somewhat hooked on Instagram and still even Facebook. Sure. But TikTok hasn't hooked me, and I consider myself very lucky for that, because when I was a kid, what I did for fun was watch the Home Shopping Network and QVC. And I was that kid being like, and this is like even pre-days of online shopping at all. And I'd be like, Dad, you don't understand. This is the best cookware set. I'm like 10 years old.
You're like, the nonstick pan? You're kidding.
And every now and then, like, he would get it. And I was like, thank you so much, because, listen, I've done my research. And I watched 30 minutes of programming about this. And I used to joke that I would be really good at that, at selling these products. But I'm glad that I'm not hooked into that TikTok shop world, because I think if I got in, it's like how people talk about cocaine. I'm like, girl, I'm really glad I've never tried it, because I feel like I would like it way too much. You get me on that TikTok shop, I'm never getting off.
Because it's just I've like accidentally scrolled over to it and been like, Yeah. Like, I, like, clutched my pearls and, like, slid out of it. Because I was like, what is this? It's just endless.
Yeah.
It's an endless pit. The lives are endless. There's always someone selling me wigs, beads. Just the most random shit. And I'm just like, oh, my God, what is this?
Right.
But these people have thousands and thousands of followers and people that tune in and are continuously driving this. So it's just so interesting.
Wow. So interesting. So the piece that I also want to touch on is, like, with what is our goal here?
Sure.
Right? And I've gone through phases of almost like a binge restrict, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you know what? If I have the income right now, or if I'm able to, if I've saved up, I'm going to get this and this and this. Yeah. And, like, look at me, and this is great. And then other times where I'm, like, disgusted by objects and I want to get rid of everything.
Yes,
right?
same.
And then, like, I will go through, you know, major purges at home and, you know, have this notion that I'm going to somehow become a minimalist and whatever, right? So figuring out, but for real, where are we going here? Like, what is our end goal if we don't want to get sucked into the hyperconsumerism, but maybe for a lot of us, the, like, total minimalist, like, only ever secondhand shopping maybe is not our aspiration or our reality.
Yeah.
What do you think? Where are we going here?
I've been trying to look at, like, my own consumerism a lot throughout this year. I was even reflecting on that, I think, like, during our summer social of just, like, finances. And I don't know, one of the things that I've really tried to look at, you know, for me and, like, for you too, like, I'm not sucked into, like, the specifics of lives and things like that. But I know my sticky areas. Like, I don't do a lot of makeup anymore, but I still enjoy makeup. Yeah. And so if I find myself sitting and thinking, also I have ADHD, take a shot every single time. So, like, the dopamine, but also the impulsivity for me is there. And I have to be careful with that. Yep. So one of the best things I did for myself this year was I created a Pinterest board, and everything that I was seeing online that I thought that I liked and wanted, I would go on Pinterest and find it and pin it and put it in the board. And so it existed there, and it scratched some of the itch of going online. It exists somewhere. And so at multiple points across this year, I have gone when I've found myself in a, you know, bout of greater financial stability and wanting to purchase something. I went and intentionally purchased these shoes for one.
Nice.
I waited for them to be on sale. They were on my wish list. And when they were, I struck. And I felt really good about that purchase.
Yeah.
I often buy and have a shit ton of buyer's remorse. And I also can't wait with things. I get something new when I use it immediately. I'm not one of those waiters. So having that spot for me really was helpful in kind of slowing some of that ticking in my brain of impulsivity of, oh, just get it because everyone else is getting it. No, I put those shoes when they were full price, and I ended up waiting, and a sale came, and I got them on sale and saved a nice amount of money. These are Doc Martens. They're expensive. Yeah. So that was a really great method for me.
Cool.
I recommend.
And I love that. I love the idea of, like, creating sort of a wish list where it's like, you know, these things can live somewhere. I'm not going to forget about them. But also, if there's not true, like, time sensitivity, which there usually isn't, then I'm going to sit on it and see.
Yep.
And part of the trap that I know that I fell into recently that I'm sure a lot of people are relating to is, like, okay, well, what happens when everything goes on sale?
Sure.
Right? So then I can log in and be like, well, if I would want this thing at some point in the future, I should get it now. It's 40% off, right? But then if that's the case for everything that I'm looking at, I'm just like, well, I should get it all now while it's 40% off. Like, guess what? And this is sort of like what you said I love, like if you know you want the thing, maybe wait till it's on sale. But also just because something is on sale
doesn't mean you need it, right?
Would I buy it full price?
That also has saved me. Yes.
Because there's a lot of things that I just bought, and I'm going to claim it here because here's one of the strategies I think we need to embrace is when you have an impulsive buying moment, allow yourself to return things, right?
Yeah.
Like I get certain things, consumables, makeup, whatever, like if you use it, you're not going to return it. But there are things like if you gotta, like I'm going to try on the clothing that I ordered, and if I don't love it, I'm going to return anything that I don't love.
That's
anything
huge.
that I would not pay full price for. And I'm like, love us coming up with these solutions.
Yes, that's a big one. And one that I, in my days of like impulse shopping with a lot of clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to like, in college, I would get stuff from Shein. I was in a sorority, so I always had some fucking function to go to. And I needed to wear something obscure that I was never going to wear again. But then I was like, you know, post-college, I was like, I don't need to be wearing random shit.
Yeah.
So I donated what I needed.
Right?
Yeah. And I'm trying to like have more of the investment, or like dupe culture is big.
Yeah.
So like, I know that $40 lip oil, I'm good with the $8 one. And I used up an entire lip oil this year, and I've never done that before. So, like, pan projects, use the stuff that you have before you go buy new stuff. When you have something, please go return it. Even a Sephora, you can return a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, if that shade really isn't going to work out for you, don't let that $40 bottle of something sit there and expire. Yes, it's going to be maybe thrown out.
They can make it a tester maybe. Like, I don't know what the rules are.
Yeah. So, like, return, that's a big one for me, is getting the stuff back to return it. But I know I've practiced that way more this year than I ever have. So, know your sticky spots, right? Like, know if you need a wish list, would you buy it full price anyways? Don't get sucked in on a sale. And, again, like, touch grass, right? Like, spend some time, you know, we're in the holidays, so you have to make your wish list for Christmas if you celebrate, things like that. It's okay to go look to, you know, what people use and what people like, and also discernment. Always know what's useful for you, and if it's not, take it back. Don't let it sit and then add to the landfill.
Amen.
And now, our musical segment. Now that's what I call Okay, where Emerson and I each share a song with each other each week as representatives of our respective generations. We tell you a little bit about the song or artist, and then we press pause, we share the song with each other, and then we come back for our live reaction. And we're capturing it all on a Spotify playlist linked in the show notes for you.
So, my song for this episode is Paper Bag by Fiona Apple. Do you know if you've heard it? Okay. So this is one of my all-time favorite songs to sing. Like, I might be singing along a little bit. It's a classic off of her 1999 sophomore album, which is called When the Pawn, but it's like ... And because the actual full title is 90 words long.
That's everything.
She's a little weird. Rolling Stone ranked this album at number 108 in its 500 greatest albums of all time that I put out in 2020. And I would say it is a phenomenal album. So this song is one song off of it.
I lied. I totally have heard that song. I was like, wait, this isn't a movie for sure that I've watched.
And now you've watched all the words too.
Yes. I love. It has just like that. I feel like this is a good song for a day like today where you're kind of just like being grungy.
You're in your mood.
Yes. Yeah. It's a schmoody kind of song.
Totally.
I also picked a schmoody one.
Tell me about it.
So I picked Happy and Sad by Kacey Musgraves because I am seeing her this Friday with my bestie, so I'm so excited. This is just one of my favorite songs, I think, of all time. I think it just kind of like perfectly encapsulates like being a big feelings person and trying to like navigate all of your moments of that like kind of oscillating of happiness and sadness. Kind of goes into like nostalgic feelings like we were talking about last week. But yeah, I love this song. I think it's a good one. If you don't know who Kacey Musgraves is, please wake up. She's an icon, a queen. I really love her. She's from Golden, Texas. and has been doing music for years. Just awesome artist.
I feel like I would probably get more into her music. It's just per discussion, I haven't listened to any new songs since 2008. So
she's a good one.
Maybe, yes. Also, I told you she came to one of my yoga classes, right?
And I'd not been interning here for like maybe even a month, and I about shit.
And then I literally had to ask her name because I didn't know what she looked like. I'm like the only person in Nashville who wouldn't have known that was Kacey Musgraves.
I was screaming.
Love it. Okay, so great song. And I will say my favorite part, though, is that this week we both sang our song.
No, like almost in entirety.
And I'm just like in my head going, oh my God, when are we going to do a duet? And what is it going to be? And is it going to be the new podcast theme song? But no, it's legit a great song. And I'm just like, I do see the hype about her. I often don't see the hype about certain people.
Oh, sure.
But I think she deserves all the hype.
She's really cool. Like earthy, but like cool. I don't know. She's just she's a good vibe. So I was happy to share that one.
Yay! And now for our last segment of the show, welcome to Fire Dumpster Phoenix. It is rough out there, y'all, and we need all the hope we can get. It's time to go dumpster diving for some positive news and rise from the leftover Happy Meal ashes together.
So we have to have this little segment because the world is kind of uber scary and dark. So we go, frolicking, dumpster diving for some lighthearted
Christian music CDs.
For some Christian for some thrown away Christian music CDs that I'm not going to listen to. So my news for today, this is a story that I have been following every year, so I had to share in this one. So I just coined it, Friends Meet for their 9th Thanksgiving Together. So if you were on the interwebs, yes, perfect. If you were on the interwebs 8 years ago, you saw it went viral, which was kind of big for 8 years ago, right? Jamal Hinton and Wanda Dench. So Wanda, this sweet lady, was sending her family a group text and was like, hey, like, come over for Thanksgiving, making Thanksgiving plans. But she accidentally added Jamal, like a complete stranger. They'd never met. And he basically said, oh, this is the wrong number, but can I still come? And Wanda was like, well, I'm a grandma, and what I do is feed people. So, yes, you totally can. And
he's just like a young man at the time.
Yeah, just like a young man, like completely random stranger. Yep. And they went and had Thanksgiving, and they've had Thanksgiving together ever since, which I just think is so cute. They still go despite not being, he still goes despite not being family. And I think this year in the article, he said that he was hosting Thanksgiving this year for Wanda. Yeah, Wanda. I was like,
yeah, because she had a cancer diagnosis.
Because she has cancer. She has a cancer diagnosis. Her husband passed away in 2020. So they've kind of just like been in each other's spheres. Just it's kind of like found friendship. I don't know, which I just think is
I love that.
Really cute. So yeah, I just love that they met for another celebration.
Yeah. And see, also, if you keep buying things off Facebook Marketplace, you never know when your Jamal and Wanda moment will come.
I thought I was maybe going to have... It wasn't for me,
no,
but...
not this time. It was not. There was no friendship going to be forming
there was no Thanksgiving dinner to be shared over that cable.
Okay, so mine is another that comes from the Monitor. This is a story reported by Sushmita Pathak. And I love the title, so I have to share the title. The kids are all right, kids meaning baby goats.
Yep.
How rural India's goat nurses help animals and themselves. So India has 1/6 of the world's goat population, and a goat is an incredibly valuable asset, especially for rural, low-income families. They can be sold at a moment's notice in case of emergencies. Sure. But that was kind of their whole purpose, because often these people lacked any sort of resources or knowledge of how to take care of the goats. So as soon as they get sick, it's like, well, you're done.
Yeah.
And so, and there's just not access to good veterinary care, right? So about 10 years ago, this initiative developed called Pashu Saki, or Friend of the Animal program, to fill these gaps in veterinary care in these rural communities. And so they would work with these rural semi-literate women and train them to become community animal health care workers. There have now been 60,000 women across India trained with support from the government, from the World Bank, the Gates Foundation. and they provide services like vaccination, deworming. They've been trained to like even notice the eye color changing might mean that there's this need. And so there's been a big spurt in goat populations. Now they can actually use it for other services. I mean, of course, I'm not a big fan of this for my own life because I don't have the need for using things like the meat and the, you know, the milk and stuff. But these communities, they need that.
Sure.
And they get paid. These women get paid for the care that they provide in their communities, which also gives them a sense of purpose and independence.
That's so cool.
So it's just like a win-win-win. I love it.
Awesome. Yeah. The goats.
I know. The goat nurses. So sweet. So that's all we got for today.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.
Go stay cozy, stay warm, have a nice little cuppa.
A little cup of tea. Go make your wish list. Don't impulse purchase, babe.
Yes.
Save that credit card.
Yep. All right. See you guys next time. Bye.
This has been another episode of But For Real, produced by Valerie Martin and Emerson Ryder and edited by Sean Conklin.
But For Real is a Gaia Center production. The Gaia Center offers individual, couples, and group therapy for clients across Tennessee and in person in our Nashville office, as well as coaching for clients worldwide. For show notes or to learn more about our work, visit GaiaCenter.co or find us on Instagram at the Gaia Center and at But For Real Pod.
But For Real is intended for education and entertainment and is not a substitute for mental health treatment.
Also, since we host this podcast primarily as humans rather than clinicians, we are not shy here about sharing our opinions on everything from snacks and movies to politicians and social issues.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode.
See you next time, bestie.